Okay, so this might grab your attention. This Jeremy Horn, who you're seeing on the other side of the screen from Memphis, Tennessee, says something along the lines of, I'm putting out a new album on Friday, and what you want to do is go into your car, pretend like it's summertime, roll the windows down, and it's 1972,
Yeah,
and we're
man.
just going to do that in the world of worship. Now, not a lot of people will do that, and so before we even talk about this, let me just play the opening notes of the record, if you would not mind, where I actually turned it on for the first time, and I thought, oh. I was trying to listen to Jeremy Horn, but apparently I've gone into the Eagles. But no, it was Jeremy Horn. So the opening track on the album is Simple and Plain.
You delight in the praises of your people. You take joy in the simplest of our songs. You adore the offering set before you. Oh Lord, receive them now. Let us come, simple and plain, reverently responding to every word you say. Let us sing humbly in truth. Oh Lord, we bring our worship to you.
So that's kind of where the album begins. And Jeremy Horn, thanks for hanging out from Memphis.
Hey, man. What's going on?
It's cool to have you. Our paths have crossed a little bit through the years in places like St. Louis and Bourbonnais and Chicago and all kinds of things like that. And I want to say it's been a minute since you put out a full record, has it not?
Yeah. So actually, like an independent, like a solo thing that's under my name. Yeah, it has been a minute. I had a little side project that I did called Revival Embers that we put out a record in 2017, and that was super fun. I still write with my main partner, a guy named Josh Smith, who lives in Michigan, and we co-write together. We wrote a bunch of songs on this record together, and but we just put a record out together. So yeah, just I've just been being a dad and living life and producing and engineering and helping other people make records, but just kind of stockpiling songs. So yeah, it's been a minute, but it's good to make another record.
I'm super happy about that. I've just been enjoying it here for the last several days since you released it on this past Friday, the 8th of January. And we're going to kind of go through some of those songs and just kind of talk through them and sample them a little bit. But I like the 1972 approach. I want to find out sort of a little bit deeper into your influences that bring you into a place like that. But you are the worship leader at Renewal Church, which I was shocked to find out you've actually been working there. Now, you don't look old enough to say this, but for 22 years,
A
there
long
in
time,
your,
yeah.
your hometown of Memphis. Now, how does somebody grow up and then just a few years later decide I'm going to be a worship leader at this church and then still there 22 years later? That's amazing.
Well, man, I never planned on being a pastor of any kind or being a church. I don't. Maybe some people think like I have the qualifications to stand in front of people and tell them how to follow Jesus. I just never thought of myself that way, and maybe some people do, but I just never was on my radar. But you sort of end up in a church and you start serving there, and you start using your gifts there, and you start join the worship team, and then you're playing on the team, and then all of a sudden you're leading that team, and then there's a need to have somebody sort of give their full attention to all things church, church worship. And so it was sort of a natural progression to do that, but I didn't expect to do that. It was like it still kind of seems strange to me, but also a blessing. I love the local church. I love the church I'm a part of, and just to stay somewhere for 20 years. Um, I never felt like the Lord ever wanted me to be somewhere else, and it does help when you marry the pastor's daughter. You kind of stay put, you know.
Wow. And has
So
that
yeah,
pastor been the same, been there for the whole time?
He retired. He
Okay.
actually retired around 2010, and my brother-in-law actually took the church over, which is
Wow.
funny. I do need to tell. It's not. I actually was working at the church before I actually ever got together with my wife, and so I always tell everybody it's reverse nepotism. I already had the job before I
Perfect.
started working there.
It
So
looks better. Looks better.
yeah. So yeah, it's kind of it
That's
ended
cool.
up being a family affair, but it wasn't really it was not really intended to be.
Yeah. Well, before we get into talking specifically about the album, I was just wondering, tell us a little bit about, from your earliest beginnings, both the things that pivoted you toward music in your life and your upbringing and your family, but also just as a guy, my understanding is you grew up in Memphis. You live
Yeah,
there to this day, so you're a hometown type guy, and
I
I
am.
I just see that you're very Memphis proud or whatever the saying might be down there. But so yeah, just bring us to the beginnings of Jeremy Horn and kind of your, I guess, Reader's Digest version of your life story, man.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I won't bore you guys too many details, but yeah, I've grown up here. I was born in Baptist Hospital downtown. Just like this is the classic story of like being born and raised here, and growing up around here. Grew up in church. We're definitely like a church family. Every time the doors were open, I slept under pews the whole bit as kids. Just always around that, and so for me, music's just always been a part of life because you grow up singing. You grow up singing 3 or 4 times a week every time you're at church, and just we had pianos in the house. And I have a couple of siblings that are older. My dad plays piano, and I have a couple of older siblings that are like 9 and 10 years older than me. And my brother played guitar growing up, and so I was just always around music. I was always sitting down on a piano and to see if I could make a sound. Or I literally have memories of trying to play Mary Had a Little Lamb and just picking it out myself when I
Yeah.
was really small. You know what
Wow.
maybe under 5 years old. Just figuring it out. Never had any like formal lessons. My brother, any of us, they might have had piano lessons or something, but I didn't have that. But I've always just sort of gravitated toward it. So when I was 15, I just asked my brother for an acoustic guitar that he had, and he gave it to me for my 15th birthday. And just like if you're, we all have kids, so we all sort of see things in them and think, well, maybe they'll discover that themselves. I don't want to force that on them. If they want to
Mhm.
be musicians, it's cool. If they want to be whatever, I don't want to make, I don't want to try to put what's God's put inside of me inside of them unless they're
That's
supposed to
what's
do
supposed
that.
to happen, right? Yeah.
That's what's supposed to happen. You know what I mean? But I was one of those kids growing up that was always just okay at everything. It's just an okay athlete. I'm left-handed. I'm like I got terrible penmanship. I'm an okay student. Just those kind of deals. But something about I'm gonna use a southern statement, but something about music. It's like a duck to water. You know what I
All
mean? I
right.
just like when I picked it up, it was like, oh, this fits. And it's like, okay, this is my thing. And I think when you're that age, 13, 14, 15, you're trying to find that thing. Like, what's my, what does God made me to be? Who am I going to be? When I found it, I think I just was like all in on it. You know what I mean? I just like, this is what I'm going to do. And so just sort of devoted myself to it. And really what's the cool thing about it is it kind of happened quickly for me. I'm learning to play guitar, but at the same time learning to play, I'm starting to write songs. And next thing I know, I'm almost 16, and then somebody's like, "Hey, do you want to come into my recording studio for free and record some of your songs?" Which, let me tell you, when you're 15 and you're starting to write songs, you probably don't want to document those songs and then put them out on albums for the world to see. There's several
Yes.
friends of mine, like people around here that have like albums of mine from songs that I wrote when I was 15. And I'm like, we love these albums, and I'm like, it's like you're like, that dream you have when you go to school in your underwear, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
those records like kind of represent that to me. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's like, but you got to write a lot of bad songs before you ever write any good ones.
Well, that's very fresh in my mind. I'm here, as you can see, representing my beloved Elton John today, and he just released kind of a I don't even know what you call it, but it's like it's full of rarities and B-sides and early songs, demos, and things like that. And people
Yeah,
are talking about how brave it was because he doesn't write lyrics. Obviously, he just he gets the lyrics and he writes the music. But early on in his career, he tried to write lyrics, and he said, I don't against my better judgment, I'm gonna put these out here just so you can kind of understand why I don't write lyrics.
I don't think I realized that. Are they any good? Because he probably thinks they're terrible, but like I wonder if they're good. You know what I mean?
I
I mean,
think there's only
Bernie
like
Taupin's amazing, but
right. Yep, I think like 2 songs he put out, and I think debatably we'll just be happy that Bernie came along and they met, and the rest was history.
isn't that fascinating? I mean, I
It
know
is,
we're
yeah.
not having a giant conversation about songwriting, but it is
It's all
super
right.
fascinating to see how people work together. Like most kind of songwriting duos, like a Lennon and McCartney or different people, they're literally going to sit down and write together or give each other ideas. Like Bernie just fills notebooks full of lyrics, and then Elton just looks at the notebooks and just makes up the songs. It's like it's a really
Yeah.
strange partnership, but a cool partnership.
And never in the same room. That's always the
I
interesting thing, is they've
know.
never written a song in the same room, which is pretty wild. And while we're on the classic music here, I'm sure this theme may come up throughout, but you're somebody that I've always associated with that, era and classic and songwriting and that kind of thing. So before we proceed with the interview, I'm going to have to hold you down to one favorite Beatle, if you would.
I can only pick one Beatle.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
McCartney.
All
Paul
right.
McCartney for sure.
Sounds good.
That's my dude. That's gonna be my dude. I think mainly just because he's just such a beast, man. He's such an amazing bass player, amazing songwriter. He can play tons of stuff. But I will say I'm gonna put a little asterisk by that. There's not really a Beatles without John Lennon though. I mean those guys they sort of rubbed off of each other in a way that like is amazing. The quintessential like thing that made them so great. It's like a song about getting better. And McCartney's like, it's getting better all the time. And John Lennon goes, it couldn't get much worse. You know what I mean? That's like amazing. But you don't get that unless you get those two different perspectives, So
Right. Yeah.
I have
That's
love for
awesome.
all 4 of those guys.
Well, I had a feeling you'd say that, and my kids are ages 9 and 7, and I don't know if you've seen this series of books that come out for kids. It's basically a biography. Who is Elton John? Who are the Beatles? And so, they're just maybe like they're big enough that kids can read. And so we've gone through the first chapter. Who's John Lennon? And then who's Paul McCartney? And what was John Lennon's early life like? And it's like, okay, I feel like I'm the parent who I want to be when this is what we're reading for bedtime stories.
That's awesome. That's super awesome.
That's pretty cool. So as far as that style of music, I'm guessing that began to influence you from early on, but you talked about growing up in church, growing up with music. I mean, how much of what you were listening to in your childhood years was, along the classic type stuff like that, as opposed to the worship music of the day?
I'd have to, like having older siblings, I was always around music, but like when I was in the car with my mom and stuff like that, you're gonna laugh at this. Maybe you're not gonna laugh at this. There's probably tons of people that love this music, and part of me does too. There was always like Imperials cassettes in my mom's, like and just like Sandy Patty, all these different people that are the original CCM artists. But then my sister would be listening to those early Amy Grant records and Michael W. Smith. So I have a diet of all of that stuff. But then all the while, you're in the car and you're listening to pop radio, or you're listening to classic rock radio here in town, or you're in your grandpa's truck and you're listening to, Don Williams country stuff. I mean, when you live in the South, there's just a huge diet of all of that stuff that you're filtering together, plus your local church music. And so I definitely listen to all of that stuff. And I think all of that stuff sort of goes inside of you, and it goes into that sort of computer inside of you that you draw from,
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
I listen to all kinds of stuff, but it's cool.
I love it. You were telling me here before we started recording, I thought this was very interesting that so on your mom's side of your family, you have a whole bunch of people that have been employed in the railroad business, and that's kind of a part of your heritage, I guess we could kind of say that. So I'm interested to hear about that a little bit.
Yeah, they're just still in it. So up by you guys, Canadian National's up there, but that was originally Illinois Central, the rail lines, and so they were bought by Canadian National. But a bunch of my family still work for the railroad, and my uncle was a vice president of Illinois Central and Canadian National. So I have family that's all in that Illinois area.
Now, did that ever translate to actually getting on the train and Jeremy going for a little ride with them, or is this all conceptual?
it's all conceptual for me, you know. I mean, railroad equals hard work.
Yeah.
That's what it equals, you know. That's a hard job to do, you know. So, but and yeah, I don't think I've ever done an honest day's work like that in my life, man. You know, it's like that's hard. Being a musician is like cakewalk compared to like, you know, working in a train yard.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'm going to jump into one of the songs on the album here. So I Was a Stranger. What a great, cool name. And you're thinking, okay, so what is he talking about here? We'll probably get to that song a little bit later, but I want to just give a little sample of a song on the album, which is called Wrecked by You. And just to get a little commentary from you on where that kind of came from. And let's take a quick listen to that.
Been wrecked by you, ruined for anything else but the love of Jesus. I've been wrecked by you, ruined for anything else but the love of Jesus.
Now, am I hearing a little bit of accordion in there in the background? That's
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes. So accordion and just
Love
sort
that.
of really Americana sounding stuff.
Definitely, yeah. I remember being in college, you know, I don't know, early 2000s or something like that, and I feel like I started hearing that sort of phrase of, you know, something happened to me at church or I was at a conference and I just felt wrecked. And I always thought that was a really interesting way to put, you know, when we're talking about, you know, the Holy Spirit, or whether it's, you know, you get a little bit of a view of yourself that maybe you didn't have before, and you just, you know, your mind is blown or whatever. But some great lyrics in that song, and very, very powerful. What's on your mind when you're writing that song?
You know, you say that like that idea, like the wrecked by you idea. It's, you know, I'm always just trying to. I don't think every songwriter is trying to do this. We're just trying to say something, I guess, in a fresh way. That makes sense. Like, you know, and like, and I try to use, I guess, the vernacular and the songs that I write that I just like I would if, just like I would if I was talking, you know what I mean? I just think I would have said like I was just wrecked by the, you know, like I feel like the same way I would kind of process that lyric, you know? And I just remember the night I wrote that song, I was like kind of late. I'm kind of a late night songwriter. I'm like I laid in the bed and kind of get still. And then like, I feel like that sort of thing starts rolling in me, or I got an idea or melody in my brain. So I have to kind of make the conscious choice to like get up and go pursue that. You know what I mean? Because you have a choice in that moment. You're like, well, I'll just go to sleep and I'll do it tomorrow, but you never do it tomorrow. So it's a song where you sort of have to get up and like, you know, if you're going to, you know, if you're going to have that inspiration to, you know, in the moment of inspiration, you know, some songwriting is just the work of doing the work, you know, and just sitting down to write. And that's not right or wrong, but that was one of those nights I sort of had that idea. So I just sat down and started writing it. And I just like the imagery. Like the verse just talks about like kind of gave reference to like the parable that talks about the brides who are waiting for the bridegroom to come. So they trim their lamps and they have the oil that's ready. And basically that God's like saying like, be ready for me. Have your heart open to me, you know? And so I want my heart to be like that lampstand. I want to have the oil. I want to be prepared. You know what I mean? Because I want to meet the person that I'm in love with. And so that idea of just being wrecked is like, man, when you first fall in love, man, you know, that's how you feel, man. You're just like, you just, everything else in the world stops except for that person. You know what I mean? That's who you want to be with, and that's who you you know, that's what life's all about. You know, you're doing everything else in your life so you can get back to be with that person, you know? So that's sort of the idea, man, about that song's just the imagery of that is like being wrecked by him, you know?
Yeah. Of course, the oil reference, you know, from the parable that Jesus tells about the waiting for the bridegroom and the oil coming. By the way, 2 references to oil on this record. You've got another song actually on there called Oil of Your Presence. I think I'll let the oil of your presence pour over me. Why don't we listen to that one here real quick?
I need you now. I need you more than ever before. Let the wind of your spirit sails with the faith to believe. One touch from you and I'm never the same. Holy Spirit, come and fall on me. I need you now. I need you more.
That's a song called Oil of Your Presence, and it says, Jesus, I receive your oil. Which is a really interesting lyric. I mean, sometimes if they haven't been familiar with the Bible or from church, even I grew up in church, but like some churches, they'll actually, anoint you with oil or whatever. And they never did that in the church where I was growing up. So I'm like, what is he singing about? But for those that might not be as familiar with the idea of oil and the Christian experience, what are you thinking about there?
Hey man, you there?
Yeah, sorry. Are we still with us here? Uh-oh.
Yeah. Real fast.
Oh man. Are we back? Kind of back.
Are you there, man?
Yes, I'm here. Are
Can
you
you hear me?
Hear me? Okay. Yep.
Okay. Sorry, dude. Yeah, it's like my kids are all in here going to school virtually. So
Oh yeah, I had the same thing last night. We had 4 going at the same time. I know.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think I heard your question, but if you want to ask me again, I'll try to answer it.
Yeah, I was just saying. So you got 2 kind of references to oil on the album, and one of the songs is even the clip we just heard was, the oil of your presence. And some versions of church-going folks would understand the idea of oil and Christian faith and all that, and others wouldn't. But so what are you trying to what picture you kind of painting there? You feel like?
You just said that. I didn't even think about the reference of that being in 2 different places on the record. I just think like the idea of like there's several references in the Bible about oil. I mean, the idea of oil anointing somebody as king, like in Psalm 133, when it says like it runs down like the dew of Hermon. It's like, and when people are together in unity, God commands a blessing, life forevermore. I mean, I'm just referencing that straight psalm, but so that idea of like presence, with that idea connected to oil, but also just think about the idea of like it's just sort of like an ancient like metaphor for like something that's healing, that brings restoration. And that's definitely a beautiful thing. So that's kind of what that song is sort of referencing, is that idea of just like I receive your presence, Lord. I receive the fullness of all that you have for me. In those moments that we, as worshipers of Jesus and people who follow Jesus and worship him, hopefully there's all of us at some point of our life have just really experienced that tangible presence, because we're just singing together in a gathered community of lifting our voices. The Bible says that God is enthroned on the praises of his people. And I just think there's something that we sometimes experience together, gather together in worship, that maybe we don't always experience alone, or sometimes we do though. I mean, you could be sitting in your living room and worshiping, and you just feel God's presence around you. And so
yeah,
it's sort of a mixture of just I just want to receive all that you have for me, Lord. That's the
Love
bridge. Says I receive your oil.
Right.
Just I receive every single bit of what you're trying to do in this moment right now. Yeah,
that's good. How many of these songs will end up on a Sunday morning at your church there in Memphis?
I can't say. I mean, I've done several of these in different iterations or different versions of them. I don't always try to. There's a lot of different ways to do this. There's a lot of churches that write songs exclusively for their church, and that's all that they're doing. I don't always try to like wear artist hat and worship leader hat at the same time. I'm not always trying to do that, and so there's definitely times I do that. There's definitely times that I feel like this is the right song for this season. And we do those things. And so I don't have a hard number, but I'd say out of the 12 or 10 or 12 or whatever, maybe 3 or 4.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you could certainly see them, even if it wasn't a song that everybody's singing together necessarily. Just some of these songs that you could sing over a time. Well, for example, obviously you've got the song "Constant Communion" on there. Let's take a little listen to that. And this is a cool song.
Keeping my heart in constant communion, and I feel you all around me. Yeah, I feel you all around me.
All right, I'm just going to have to stop that song right now. I don't know if you know this or not, but you're not allowed to do guitar solos anymore. That's that's not. I'm hearing this in several of these songs, and I just got to tell you, I don't know what you think you're doing with these guitar solos.
Man, it's a dying art. It really is. But you know what? If you're a dinosaur like me, you're gonna keep playing, put some dinosaur parts in some songs.
What is the technical term for the guitar, the slider thing where you got that going on? Is it
Oh,
called slide?
that's called a pedal steel.
Okay,
Like,
pedal
that's
steel.
really
Yeah.
That's really popular. It's popular in country music for
Country,
sure.
right.
But it's also really popular in like early, mid 70s kind
Well, I'm
of
thinking
folk rock records.
It's like I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. Like that's what
Yeah,
I'm thinking. Yeah.
absolutely. Eagles or Jackson Brown. You have a lot of that sort of like. I don't love all those records, and so I just never heard anything like this in Christian music. You know what? Believe it or not, the one record that I'll reference, I'm going to throw it way back for all the old school people. A record that really has a lot of this sound is the first DeGarmo and Key record.
Oh wow! Now we're talking.
Dana and Eddie, like that first record that they put out has definitely a lot of this vibes. You know what I mean? So that's like, those guys were really early. Dana was a friend and a mentor to me, and just I worked with him for a long time at Ardent, and so there's definitely those influences, but that's kind of where a lot of this kind of stuff comes from. It's just like these are the records that I listen to, and I think a lot of people listen to them, and I haven't really heard a lot of Christian music or CCM music or worship music that has really gone that way, or if it has, it's been way in the past, and it's not really so. Why not try to do something that's fresh or reintroduce that sort of classic sound to a new generation of people that just want to hear something simple and stripped back, and no, and I mean this, no disrespect to anybody who's making other kinds of music, because there's a lot of different types of music for people, but maybe not something that's quite so big or perfect and polished, or you know what I mean? There's a lot of that in what we do, like really everything's really neat.
Well, everybody's got a place here, and I'm glad that this place is being represented. That's a cool thing. And hey, if it's not been done since DeGarmo and Key, it's probably about time to cycle that into our society here. So, but what a cool phrase, constant communion. I think it's good too for people that maybe have grown up around church, grown up in church, but yet like church is just kind of a thing they do. And when I first heard that song, when you put that out, even before the album came out, I remember connecting with the lyrics in that song and sending it actually to a friend who I really feel like's been, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like reinvented spiritually in his life. Like, if you'd told him about being in constant communion with God 5 years ago, he'd have been like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do or whatever. And now he's actually like living that on a daily basis. So I felt like I needed to send him that song, because it's like, dude, I feel like this is what you're beginning to experience. Like, then you got a lyric in there that says, I feel you in my daily rhythms. Like this is, I'm sure as a worship minister, it's part of your job where you're telling your people, like, this is not just a Sunday morning thing. Like, this is something that we do every day. Right.
Yeah, man. That song is really just like, just a straight up prayer of mine. You know what I mean? I just wanted it to be like, man, I just in my every single day, like we all have things that we have to do in life, right? We're not always just able to just be still or being, worshiping together all the time on a Sunday morning, or, whenever we gather together. It's so, but I want to be constantly aware of his presence when I'm at the grocery store, or when we're cooking dinner, or when we're, doing bedtime, all these different things that we do in the normal rhythms of our life, just want to be in constant connection, and, there's a really famous book that a lot of people know, and it's just Practicing the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence, like a little short book that's like a Christian book. And those are definitely one of those like, books that I've read even as a teenager that I just sort of try to practice in my life. Like
Hmm.
I just wanna, he was a cook, man. He was a friar, and like a monk friar guy. And he was just basically peeling potatoes every day, and he didn't like his job. He didn't want to be the cook. He didn't want to sit there and prep all that stuff, But that's what he did. But he learned to commune with the Lord every day, just in his daily actions of just what he called breath prayers, where he would just constantly be mindful of Jesus all day long. And so kind of was, even I didn't directly reference that, but I think that's sort of the same idea. You know what I mean? Of just being like, that's what I want in my life, just a constant connection to the Lord.
Absolutely. That same friend that I shared that song with, I was kind of reading his experience into some of the things that you were talking about. I want to play actually the title track from the album, "I Was a Stranger." It's very powerful, the lyrics to this, if you take a listen.
Let me feel the weight of your presence. Let me feel the beat of your heart. Let me know the Father's affections. I was a stranger, but now I'm a son. I belong to you. I belong to you.
So there's your song, "I Was a Stranger" by Jeremy Horn, that's the name of the album. I feel like probably as I'm listening through that, that maybe some of the lyrics that I personally feel feel the most strongly as I'm listening to it. Like you sometimes you're listening to the music, you kind of enjoying the music, but then when you feel the music, that had to be one of the songs that I felt like I felt the most, because there is a difference between having this strange distant connection to God, and then when the realization comes at some point in your life, like, oh, this is my father, I'm the son, like this is an intimate thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say amen to that. We all have those moments. I don't remember. Have you ever heard the story that like, and you can totally appreciate this, um, just in your own life with your own kids. But when somebody's legally adopted by somebody, they're more a son than somebody who's even a natural. Because if you adopt somebody, you can't ever undo that, right? It's like
Right.
they're your kids forever. Period. You know what I mean? And and I think there's an idea of like that sort of idea of like being adopted into sonship. We're more than just servants now. We're more than just uh, people who are grandfathered in, but like we're sons and daughters and heirs to what Jesus has done for us. And so,
Love it.
um, I just we were once strangers, man. We were once dead in our trespasses. We were once unknown, but then he came and found us. He came and found
Yeah.
us, and he brought us not only into an army or all these different ideas, but he brought us into a family. We're known and loved and cared for, and the most important things, like, we're safe in
It's
him.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not sure if your dog is safe. Now, your dog is giving me some mean looks back there. I'm not sure if this is your cuddle time.
Dogs.
Oh,
They're
dogs.
all around me. I have 3 beagles here, so
Well,
they're
and
all running around.
you're sharing some very beautiful spiritual insights, and they're back there yawning. I'm not sure if you may need to
they're
address some
just
things with
they're
them.
just waiting to scream. They're just waiting for somebody to come to the window or whatever. They've barked a few times. Sorry, everybody listening. Like, oh my God, what's going on? Yeah,
Hey,
there's 3 beagles over here that holler at what they want to holler at.
this is the work from home world for sure. That speaking of work from home, I understand
Yeah.
I've seen your home is quite the construction project. So let's see now. You're putting on an addition to your
Yeah.
home, basically for musical purposes. Is that we got that right?
Yeah, it's kind of a lifelong dream, actually, building a
Really?
studio on the back of the house. So just really, man, I just have a desire to help other artists make music and write and record. And I had a home base here in town in Ardent Studios for a long, long time, and that's still there. It's still good, but there's something really beautiful about the idea of being able to uh, say goodnight to the kids and go out, and you're not having to leave to go somewhere to go. You can work later, and you can do whatever, and it's just right there. And so, yeah, it sort of worked out, and we're really excited about it, man. Expecting God to do big things with it, and hopefully I can just help other young artists out there. We're all on a journey, and we all have to learn. And I'm really grateful. I had a lot of really great mentors in the music world that helped me in a big way, and I'm hoping I can do just take a little bit of what all the stuff that I've learned from those guys and give it to somebody else too.
That's
So
beautiful. Well, that's
yeah,
that's
man.
awesome. Congratulations to you. That's really
Thank
cool.
you.
Now I want to go psychological here for a minute because this is something I'm really interested in. It's the idea of the psychology of hometown living, where you
Okay.
live where you've always lived.
Yeah.
Are you in the city of Memphis? I mean, you're there. Uh,
Like when I like in the middle of town, like I live in
okay.
the heart of
All right.
what somebody would call East Memphis is
Yeah.
actually like the center of town. So that's where
Okay.
I live.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. And so, and some people that is exactly what they want to do. Now there are other people that say, well, yeah, I've always kind of lived here, and it's just kind of the
Yeah.
way it worked, and they say it almost in a begrudging, defeated kind of way. Then you have people like me where I love the town that I grew up in. It's much smaller than Memphis and kind of northern Illinois, but yet through jobs and career and school and all those kinds of things, it just never worked out to be there. But yet I get there as often as I can,
Right.
because my people are there, my family, and there's a certain vibe about the hometown which some people crave. That I think I'm one of those people. Other people say that's the last thing in the world I would crave. Get me away from it. Get me on a flight to somewhere west that's a couple of thousand miles away. Like, what do you think? What do you think's the psychology behind somebody like yourself who is very obviously happy to be in their hometown, now markedly a very cool town to be from, and so why would you want to move
I
out of
mean,
Memphis?
some
But
people would say that. Some
yeah,
people would say that. I don't know. Some people, there's a lot of people. I think that there's always that person that the grass is always greener on the other side, right?
sure,
If you grew up
uh-huh.
in Memphis, you want to be in Nashville or you want to move to California or whatever. There's always that sort of idea. I've just never been like that. I mean, home is where your family is. Home is where uh, you feel loved and connected, and that's the biggest thing for me. Memphis is a great town, and I know this is not an advertisement for Memphis, but Memphis is, it's got a past, it's got some dark stuff, and it's gritty. That's why, like we've said, the grit, the whole Grizzlies idea, ground, you know what I mean? Like Memphis can be gritty, but same time, it's got wonderful culture. It's got amazing music and amazing music past. It's got amazing food. Like if you want to just go somewhere and gain 20 pounds in like a weekend, just come to Memphis. Like generally the food is fantastic. Like I always tell everybody, if you say you're from Memphis and you're not at least 10 pounds overweight, you're just lying to people. So I mean, fantastic food, like world class food, like literally. So and that's not everything, but it sure does help. It sure does help when
No
you're
doubt.
not having to eat at every local chain in the world because the local or chain restaurants, because the local foods here is awesome. you
So
know
is it even worth, I mean, owning a smoker and becoming a barbecue master kind of guy when you live in Memphis, when you can just go down the street and get it world class?
Man, I have some friends who are some killer barbecue connoisseurs. Like guy plays with me on the road, guy named Derek Shipley, who played bass for me on the road, and we for years we're super close. He was at my house today looking at the studio space. He actually makes the best barbecue I've ever had, period. His barbecue sauce is amazingly good, but you got to be really bold in this town if you're going to decide you're going to open a barbecue restaurant. Like you better have your stuff in order because you will be gone quick if you're if you're not.
have
So
have you lost any favorite restaurants to COVID? I mean, or
luckily,
or they hung
luckily,
around?
no.
Okay.
Luckily, nothing for me. There have been a few places that have shut down, and I hope they come back. That's just so hard. I feel so bad for those folks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people a lot of restaurant guys here in town that I mean that are friends of ours. Just because you go to the restaurants all the time and they're personable people. They're in the people business. They're in the entertainment business. So they're always coming by your table. And just seeing these guys trying so hard to keep their employees, keep everybody moving forward, and so we just try to support them. And luckily in town, it's a lot of takeout happening. There's a lot of people supporting those restaurants because they know like it's only a matter of time. Nobody wants their favorite restaurant to not be there when all this is over. So
No doubt.
yeah.
Wow. Let's take a listen to one more song, a song called "The Age to Come" from Jeremy Horn.
We want a taste of the age to come, where heaven and earth join into one. Your power displayed, and we want a taste of the age to come.
Not that I get a vote or a say in this, but out of one of the maybe 3 or 4 songs that makes it to your church on Sunday morning, I hope that's one of the. It's got that feel to it that seems like it would be, if not at least performed, to the people, at least something that we can come together on Sunday morning, just be like, we're not just kind of going through the motions, but we're going to actually get to spend forever together, and let's kind of celebrate that.
Like let's see what happens. That whole idea of just like heaven coming to earth, and we can in some ways, if you've ever heard that statement, the kingdom of God is the now and the not yet. You know what I mean? We live in the here and now where Jesus is king, but there's all these not yet things. But somehow spiritually, sometimes the not yet breaks into the now. And so I want a taste of the age to come. I want a taste of everything that Jesus has for us in the future, and He wants to give me a little bit of that now. I'll sure sing about it. I'll sure take it. And so, that whole idea behind that song, that's definitely a song I would do at church on Sunday. Constant communion too. It's just a cool idea to just sing those things. And so, heck, I may end up singing all these songs. You never know, but it's fun. It's fun to make them, fun to record them.
Yeah. Well, and I noticed too, just having been in radio for a bunch of years, especially lately, it seems like I guess we'll squeeze one more song in here. A lot of the songs that really tend to speak deeply to people are the ones that are a response to some kind of personal pain. And I don't know if that's a place that you tend to write from sometime, but I want to check out this song called Overall, which definitely speaks to sort of those themes. I feel like it's a song about tough times and your heart's tired, and let's listen to that.
'Cause I believe in exceeding greatness. I believe in your power towards us. I believe in the name of Jesus, the name that's over all. My cup is filled.
Like the early part of that song is talking about and there you go, starting the song again with an electric guitar riff. But it talks about your heart being tired, and I can't go on, and I feel like giving in. And I don't know. I'm not a songwriter. I mean, I just get on the radio and start saying things and hope I don't overshare. But like, I would imagine that'd be a delicate balance. But everybody experiences their own personal pains in life, and yet I would perceive you would want to be writing about that to some degree, because that's a relatable thing for a lot of people. I think I got you muted there, bro.
I'm muted. Sorry, I muted myself. I took these earpods out. They were done. But yeah, human condition's an interesting thing, and something that we don't always talk about. But, suffering's in the Bible. I mean, like, we all go through things that are hard. I mean, Jesus said, like, in this world you're in trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world, right? And so I think sometimes it's good to be honest. There's not a lot of people writing quote unquote laments anymore, but the Bible's full of songs that are just talking about how people are struggling. And so there's definitely this, I just want to be honest. Anything that I'm writing, it's like, I want to there's plenty of people writing amazing, great songs out there, amazing worship songs, all of that. And I think sometimes we sort of fall in the trap of thinking like, I want to write the next big mega thing that I can write because I want the world to sing it, or, it's just, there can be a trap to do that. And for me, I just want to write songs that are as honest as I can possibly write about where I'm at and where we're at. Because what we even talked about earlier is true. I want my communion with the Lord to be real. You know what I mean? And life's not always awesome. I mean, as we all have seen in this past year, nobody expected 2020 to become staying at home in your pajamas 24/7 and hoping that you can, maybe make it to the grocery store without getting sick. Nobody planned on that happening, And so it's good to just be honest. God's not shocked by our honesty. He's not surprised that life is hard sometimes, and so I just want to be, I want to take, even in the hard times, but I just wanted to redirect my heart and just believe a better story. There's something good's going to come from all of this. Something good's going to come from even the hardest things in life, because, quite frankly, my life's really not that hard. It's, it's not. And, I think a lot of people can say that's true. There's a lot of people out there who have a lot tougher lives, a lot harder things going on. And, the Bible tells us, man, that Jesus one day is going to wipe away every tear and every pain is going to cease. All this crazy stuff that's happening in the world is going to stop, man, because Jesus is king, And so ultimately, I just want to remind myself that, man, he's over all of this, even in my own junk in my life right now, And so I'm thankful for that.
Absolutely. So aside from producing, leading, performing, touring the music, are you also a concert goer yourself?
I love concerts and when they can happen.
Okay, so that's kind of my next question, because not to do multiple references of the person on my shirt today, but so I had the ticket to go to see Elton John's farewell tour for the second time that I was going to see it over in Indianapolis. And then it came to the date. I wasn't sick. He had a family member that passed away. So they canceled that a few minutes before the thing was supposed to start. And people were already showing up at the arena and all that. So bummer. Okay. So then we're going to do it 4 months from that. Then it canceled again for COVID. So we're now scheduled for, I believe it's like the fall of 2022.
Was that supposed to be like his last tour too?
He was on his last 3-year final tour, Farewell Yellow Brick
Road.
No,
it's a 5-year final tour.
Right. Exactly.
Kiss. He's gonna be back. He's gonna be constant. Every tour is the farewell tour.
Exactly. And I would be okay with that. But so what sorts of things when this thing ends, assuming we're just gonna get a hard ending to COVID, and you want to get back out and do, obviously you're a family man, you've got the family thing going on, as I am, but I still try to find times for the concerts when I can. So what will be among the first things that you will resume doing? Particularly in the music area? Yeah,
man, I definitely want to go back out and play, man. I just want to be able to go play music some. That'll be a lot of fun. Concerts, I think we all have those bucket list people that we want to see. I definitely,
is anybody left on your bucket list? I mean,
yeah, I have a couple people, believe it or not, but gee, it's really funny. I really want to see Aerosmith.
Oh yeah,
never seen Aerosmith, but can you imagine, like an Aerosmith concert is going to be 3 hours of just singing along to tons of hit songs. They have so many great songs, So that's a band that I'd really, really love to see.
Now you mentioned your favorite Beetle, Paul McCartney. Have you seen him?
I have. I've seen him twice. So
okay,
just really, really lucky. And my favorite band was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and I saw Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers 9 times. So I saw him right before he passed away. So I've gotten to see some people. I've seen Bob Dylan a couple of times. Just people that these are people who are icons.
Right.
But also too, just just the normal stuff that comes through town that we all love. The big Christian tours and the winter jams, all that kind of stuff. It's just that's when my friends and the people that we all know and love to be able to get back to work. One of my good friends, a guy named Timmy Jones, and he plays drums for Chris Tomlin. Just want the guy to be able to go back to work to be able to provide for his family.
Absolutely. Well, man, I just congratulate you on an album I'm just enjoying the heck out of. And I mean, it's really cool to be able to, if I feel like even today, unfortunately, we have to say that the actual, the idea of a record, the idea of an album, becomes a little bit of a lost art. And to be able to, even if you're streaming it on Spotify from top to bottom, just hearing one song after another, it's really an excellent experience just listening to that. It is a worship experience. I love the fact that I don't have to go over here for my 70s rock and roll and then have my worship over here. I can do them at the same time, and I have you to thank for that. So
well, I hope you enjoy it. I hope people who do listen to it kind of get that vibe. It's there's not a lot of things like this out there, and so if that's something that interests you, if you like that sort of late 60s, early 70s, mid 70s, like Los Angeles singer-songwriter Jackson Brown, those kind of folks. You might want to check this out. But you also like worship music, because I've never heard anything that sort of marries these two things together. So we'll give it a shot. You know, it's been positive response so far, which I'm pleasantly surprised, because I'm going to be real. The theme of today, I'm going to be really honest. I was kind of nervous. I thought, I don't know if people are going to like this or not.
Well, I'm glad to hear initial reviews are for the positive. That's a cool thing.
Yeah,
So, and maybe somebody's watching this and thinking, well, man, I'd like to put on a concert like that when I can, when we do these kinds of things again. I want to get a hold of this guy and see if we can't set something up. So, like, what's the best way to get a hold of you for a future concert or whatever?
But these days, man, you know, you always go to a website, but the best way to find somebody is just, man, shoot. I'm on Instagram. I'm just Jeremy Horn on Instagram, or I'm Jeremy Horn Music on Facebook. Just, you can find me. Just shoot me a message on there. You know what I mean? And if you want to go to the website, that's fine too. But most people are already on social media, and I'm on there frequently. So I'm definitely on Instagram and Facebook. You know. Sadly, on the regular, even though, you know, I know some people aren't, but that's where I am. So find me. I'd love to talk to you about it. It'd be fun.
Well, and your privilege is speaking, because I mean, a guy that your first and last name are easily spelled. That's something that I envy very much. So you can find me,
dude, that's for sure. I see how you shorten your email. It's nice and tight.
Exactly right. Yep, that's the way that goes. Well, man, thanks for all the time. I wish you well with the construction at your house, the new album, everything going on at the church, and it's good to kind of reconnect. And I'm very happy for your new project.
Bro, thank you so much for allowing me to do this. It's really good to see your face, and I hope I get to see it in person again at some point. It would
I would like that very much. That would be good.
Cool.